Welcome again, class 8, for the next video lecture, which is in continuation with the chapter Glimpses of the Past. In the first chapter, in the previous video lecture, we saw that the chapter has been divided into 9 parts, in which we saw first 5 parts, in which first is the incident of Red Fort at 26 Jan 63, where Jawaharlal Nehru and other leaders are sitting for the ceremony, and Lata Mangeshkar had sung the song. And then it starts with the freedom struggle, the first freedom struggle of India. Now, as we see that, as we proceed further, we have seen till now that how Britishers came into India as traders, and they wanted to establish trade links with India, but then later on they started exploiting India and keeping their own army and fighting with the Indians only, and then they took advantage of disintegrated political system of India, the disintegrated administration of India under the Mughals, because Mughals were gradually, losing their power, more of because they had expanded too much and they did not trust Indians. So what's happening? They brought their own cousins from Afghanistan and Persia, but then their cousins only turned hostile, and they used to keep the share of the revenue, the major share, like Lucknow, like Murshidabad, like Hyderabad, like so all these things were going on. So gradually what happened, they captured India, and they expanded in India, having presidencies in Bombay, Madras, and Kolkata. Now we will see how their system of administration, created dissatisfaction among the people of India, and later on it led to whole of the revolution, and this was known as First War of Independence. This all happened. Okay, so let us start with dissatisfaction. Let us, if you go one by one, we'll see that in dissatisfaction part from 1835 to 56, that is, education, and then we see that kings have become puppets in front of the Britishers. Then you see in the sparks that peasants were fighting in Bengal, and then Santhal revolution was there. Then we'll see that sepoy mutiny is there, and then the revolt comes over here, and then fight for freedom. Okay, so as you make the notes, what I'll do, I'm just taking from 6 to part 9 in totality. Okay, I'll not go, this you just go through it, line by line, you just read it. Okay, and then go through, and I'll take this in whole totality. Okay, so dissatisfaction, let us come to dissatisfaction. Actually, the 1857 revolt of 1857 was having two basic, two concrete reasons which were very root cause of the revolt. One were the long-term reasons which were going on since almost 60 to 70 years, and few were immediate reasons. Okay, so long-term reasons have been discussed in dissatisfaction, and sparks are the immediate reasons, and revolt is the actual when fighting starts. And fighting for the freedom is just an extension of the revolt, because the purpose of revolt was freedom only, to get rid of the Britishers. Okay, and we wanted them to push out of, we wanted them to be out of India. So let us talk about the dissatisfaction part. Now, if we see the dissatisfaction part, you will find actual reasons were doctrine of lapse. Doctrine of lapse means if any of the ruler is not having any rightful heir, his own son, then that particular state was captured by Britishers. Okay, and taken control of administration, revenue, army, everything went under the British or British East India Company. It started initially with in 1803. It started with Jaintia. Okay, and Jaintia is a place, and then they went ahead with the things, and in 1853 they annexed Jhansi, and then 1854 Nagpur, and then Satara. Okay, so there are a series of states which they had annexed, but Rani of Jhansi, Rani was not willing to give her away because they had adopted one son, and she had sent many letters also. So but doctrine of lapse, it was not related to the rulers only, because in India at that moment, at that period of time, rulers were worshipped just like anything. And you can sense the intensity of that particular worship with the present day scenario also. We are very well aware that Maharaja of Gwalior, the Sindhiyas, did not support Jhansi in 1857. 1857 means 100 and good odd, 160, 70 years ago. Still, people of Jhansi do not like Sindhiyas. Till now, 150 years have passed by, but till now the condition is nobody speaks of it. Nobody, interacts with them. Even they don't give up as a marriage in between Jhansi and Gwalior. And it was because of this reason, you see the map, MP, and then we enter Jhansi, it is in UP, and then we enter Gwalior, which is again in MP. So Jhansi was purposely separated from MP and given to UP, and then Uttar Pradesh, and then Madhya Pradesh was given Gwalior purposely because they were not are in good terms till now. So you can understand what was the intensity at that time, 100 years or 200 years back, where people worshipped their rulers just like anything. Okay, so this was one of the doctrine of lapse was one of the major discontent among the people, because they were worshipping the rulers, and then the rulers changed and became the white people who are not Indians. So discontent was there. Then socio-economic system. Socio-economic, what happened, economy was already getting down, and the people were deprived of the many things, whatever famine were there, but British East India Company wanted taxation. So heavy taxes were imposed, but so economic condition went down. But what happened in the social front? What happened? Many reforms came. Okay, so Lord Dalhousie was there, instrumental in widow remarriage, and people of India did not accept it. He abolished sati. People of India did not accept it. They found it an intrusion, an incursion, and distorting Indian culture. Whatever was going on since ages, though that was wrong, but then people did not accept it. Then we had taxation. It is said that just because earlier there were Jagirdari system, which was established by the Aurangzeb and all, they had established it. So Jagirdari system means Suba was there, in which tax was collected. If a particular Jagirdar who was responsible for tax collection could not give tax in time, or was falling short of taxes because people did not have that much of produce to sell and then give the tax out of their produce, these Jagidars were annexed. These Jagidaris were annexed by Britishers, and it is said that because of this policy of taxation, they annexed some 20,000 Jagidaris in whole of the country. So this was one of the major aspect of discontent. Then education system. Britishers, when came to India, they wanted clerks to work for them, so they brought English. But earlier, our system was having Persian and Sanskrit. Those were related to Muslims or even Hindus, because court language was Persian. So people used to learn Persian, and then Sanskrit also was into Indian education system. But when Britishers came, they introduced English. So what Indians thought, firstly, they are spoiling our culture. Number one. Number two, they are not telling anything about our culture in English. There was nothing about Indian culture. Thirdly, they thought that they'll be converting Indians into Christians, and that was actually happening by Christian missionaries. What the Christian missionaries used to do, they used to convert the people by giving them some goodies, and then they used to convert them into Christianity, and then they used to preach Christianity. Many missionaries came, because they thought Britishers that Christians will be more, loyal to the Britishers. So they converted Christians in every, pockets where development had not reached by that time, like in Northeast, in the tribal areas. So this was one of the thing, and in the Army also, the Christian padris or the fathers were appointed over there who used to give sermon and ask people to convert into Christianity. So this is all was going on. So this all things were very much responsible for dissatisfaction among people. It happened, started in 1800s only. It is given 1835, but then 1830 it had started 1803 when Satara and Jaintia was annexed as a doctrine of lapse. And taxation system, even before 25, you can say 1775 or 80, when the after the battle of Plassey, when the good hold of things were taken up. Okay, so these were the things which were major cause for dissatisfaction among the Indians. Okay, so everybody had their own reason. There was not a single reason, but everybody had their own reason to push Britishers off from the mainland, India. This was one thing. Okay, now let us talk about the sparks. Sparks means immediately what happened before, from 1855 to 1857. Actually, people were planning for a revolt. It is a fact. And but Britishers say that it was Sepoy mutiny. They do not accept that it was first war of independence, and many historians also say that it was not first war of independence. But there are more number of historians which say this is the first war of independence. Why? It was planned. 3 or 4 years good planning was done, and a date was even decided that they'll be doing by the 10th of May. But one incident happened, so this was the spark, you can call. Few sparks were there. Okay, one incident happened at Barakpur. What happened in Barakpur? The Lee Enfield rifles were introduced. Okay, and Lee Enfield rifles earlier, you see, were to just insert the cartridge or insert the pouch of gunpowder. The bullet was inserted from the front, and the pouch of gunpowder was inserted. That pouch of gunpowder was jacketed in a leather case, small, and to just pour the gunpowder, it had to be tiered from mouth, and so that the gunpowder can be poured, and the rifle cocked and fired. That pouch of gunpowder, a small quantity of gunpowder, was greased. Okay, the greasing was done with the with the fat, but nobody knew what kind of fat that is. Muslims said that is it is a boar fat, the pigs, whatever the fat is comes out. So it is animal fat. Okay, so and for Hindus and for both Muslims, it was unpious. It was not that much holy to bite it from mouth, but it was to be bitten from mouth because they were not having cutters or scissors, something like that. So they had to bite from mouth, open the pouch, pour the gunpowder, and fire. So that was a major source of discontent. So Mangal Pandey had a altercation with his bosses, and then he killed few of them, and that was the Barakpur incident in Calcutta. That was having a good cantonment, a huge cantonment. Till now that is there. So, but this incident at Barakpur, Mangal Pandey was hanged in the April itself. So it sparked mutiny among the soldiers in Meerut cantonment. Okay, and Meerut was near to Delhi. So it all happened that everybody was knowing that Sepoys of Indian Army had British Indian Army to be precise. Actually, the regiment was Native Light Infantry, NLI. It was called as NLI, and Mangal Pandey was from 34 unit. Okay, 34 number 34 NLI, Native Light Infantry. So they were from Native Light Infantry, and in Meerut, a huge massacre took place, and all sepoys at the time, sepoys as we call, now we call Jawans, but at that time Britishers used to call sepoys. So they had a mutiny over there. Then to relate it, what Britishers do till now, they called whole of 1859 as a sepoy mutiny only, but that is not a fact actually. Okay. Next thing happened was annexation of Awadh. Now, under doctrine of lapse, Awadh is a place, Awadh means modern Lucknow. So it is placed between Bengal, that time Bengal, right now it is Bihar and then Bengal. At that time it was, Buxar, and then we had Awadh area and then Kanpur. So Awadh was in between, holding very strong position. So Britishers anyhow wanted to take Awadh. So what they did, they applied doctrine of lapse over there in the name of misrule, misconduct, poor administration. But Begum Hazrat Mahal was quite a able ruler. She was ruling at that time Awadh. So Britishers wanted to take away. They thought that she is a queen, but she was. They were not knowing there are many men over there who were able generals. So that was the case, and then it all happened. One incident is that Britishers came inside the Awadh, and then they were living in the presidency. A small fortress type of thing was there, and Begum Hazrat Mahal took all cannons and fired from all the area, all the directions. So still you can see in the presidency Lucknow, holes of the cannon balls are there. Okay, and they killed. She killed all the Britishers inside that presidency, and that was a major event. And then something happened in Kanpur also. So there were sparks everywhere. Everybody had their own reasons. And 1757, the black hole was there. So many instances in every state, some of the incident was going on. So this was the thing, and then people were preparing also. It was not like that only the princely states were preparing. People were sending rotis, chapatis, and big chapati was made in one village and sent to other village. Other people used to eat it and then sent to other. It was uniting people, and it was done secretly. And a lotus flower. Lotus is a very pious flower, and has a holy significance in India, Indian culture. So it was sent, and then it went from village to village. So people were uniting actually, because all the soldiers from where they gathered, they were among the common masses only. So it had already going on. Okay, and we see rulers like Jhansi, Rani Lakshmi Bai was there. From Bihar, Kunwar Singh and Amar Singh was there. In Delhi, Bahadur Shah II and Bakht Khan was there. Now in Delhi, actually he was old ruler, but then India was under Mughals. So whole of the Indian people thought, let us make one ruler. Let us make one ruler who will be a captain. Okay, and then we will all fight under that captain only, because it was a revolt for freedom. It was not just a revolt in pockets, it was revolt everywhere. So everybody rushed to Delhi also. Delhi Chalo, and all those were the slogan given at that time. So what happened? And then in Lucknow, with Begum Hazrat Mahal, Ahmadullah. From Rajasthan Kota, we were having Bundi, Jayadayal and Hardayal. In Assam also, people were there. In Odisha, Shahi brothers were there. Two brothers, Shahi with the second name, were there. So they all, revolted. When whole of India was burning just like anything. Okay, but somehow Britishers, having a divide and rule, like Gwalior was, under influence of Britishers only. So people had divide and rule policy, and then with this divide and rule, somehow Britishers could crush this revolution. Okay, so this is now only one thing which is there, planned or unplanned. This was quite planned. Only thing is that Barakpur incident took place in the month of April only, but everything was planned from the month of May. That revolt will be all together in all the places, and this actually happened also. And many people were massacred. Nobody know how many people lost their lives. But then there are some positives also. This revolution did not fail actually. Why it did not fail? Because earlier one revolution already had taken place in 1800, 2 or 3 I guess, in South India. That is known as First War of Independence. A local tribal revolution was there. So that is also regarded as First War of Independence. But then that's a different way of looking at the things. What is important over here is that this was an organized one. It united the people of the country against the Britishers, and Britishers realized this. After having this revolution in 1860 and then 1863, Queen's Proclamation was there, and British East India Company was removed from power in India, and Governor Generals from Queen's Proclamation was there, and Viceroys and Governor Generals were established over here. So this was the system which was established, and whole of the administration was taken away from the British East India Company. This shows that British East India Company failed in this particular revolution, and it united India. And after that, there are a series of events from 1863. If you will, read further, or you will have, when you read Indian freedom struggle, you'll find series of events which are really there to tell that from 1857 we started preparing for 1947, and there are series of events which were happening. Okay, people of India were not keeping quiet. It is there that few instances happen in from 1860 to 1900, but then those few events, Indians were preparing themselves with education, with mode of revolution, with raising a voice, formation of Congress, formation of other groups, then formation of Indian strengthening of Indian culture. Gadeshotsav started. Then we have got press of India becoming stronger. So 50 years it took for preparation, and then from 1900 suddenly upsurge became, and within next 50 years India got its independence. So this was the 1857 revolt, and fight for independence started in that time only. Okay, so now what you do is, for every page of comic book you write, adding few of these points also, and whatever your knowledge is there, you can add events, make it interesting, because this has been made interesting by figures and pictures and colorful bubbles and all those things. What you do, make it with a good language, good input, worth reading. Okay, so 100, 120, 150 words for each and every page you write, and that will summarize the chapter. You'll be knowing everything, and that will assist you in your history also. In the next video lecture, we are going to solve the question answers with some comprehension part. Thank you.